What's going on, my guys? We are here with the Late Stoppage podcast, and in over 2,000 videos for the first time, I'm going to be having a not a guest, but pretty much a co-host, my guy Ian Green over on Top Boxing News. This is a really big project we've been working on, and I hope you guys do enjoy it. My guy Ian, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, Jerry, thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to this. I'm Ian Green, founder of media company Top Boxing News, and I've been watching Jerry's stuff for a while, so I'm really excited to get this podcast going. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, and me and Ian have been working closely together for a while now, so it's an honor to launch this podcast. Really big project I've been wanting to do for a long time with Ian. I don't think there's anybody else I could have chose to be a better co-host, but enough with the glazing. Let's get straight into it. We want to touch on some things today. Canelo Bud is really huge right now. We're going to talk about that. You guys are really vocal over on YouTube, TikTok about that. Deontay Wilder has a fight coming up Saturday. Is it Saturday?
Friday. It's on Friday, I think.
It's on Friday.
Yeah, Friday 27th.
Oh, man. So he's fighting on a Friday. So, yeah. And then Jaron Ennis is making his move up to junior middleweight. Negotiations with Virgil Ortiz, all those things. We're going to get into all that today, right now, on the Late Stoppage podcast. Now, starting off with Canelo, Ian, I'm really interested to hear how your take on it. You told me you're going more in Bud's favor, or you're in Bud's favor.
When this fight first started getting, even when the rumors first started, probably a couple of years ago, I was all Canelo. Crawford moving up from 154, pretty much 147. No shot in hell he's beating Canelo. And then, I don't know, Canelo going the distance with Berlanga, and then the really lackluster performance against Skull. I don't know. It feels like, in my opinion, it looks like that age has really caught up to him in the past 2 years. Like, I'm not going to say he was at his prime in, 2022 and 2023, but it seems like he's went from prime in like around the 2020 to not prime to where he is now, which I feel is, no offense, I think it might be the worst Canelo we've seen. Against Skull, I was excited to watch that. My dad came in town and couldn't have been more disappointed with the fight. I don't know. I just feel that Crawford he's got the mentality, he's so confident in himself. And I don't know. My opinion on this fight switches every day. Like, literally today I was watching the round table discussion with Tom Brady, Shaq, and Dana White, and I was like, now I'm maybe favoring Canelo. But I mean, that tells you how great of a fight it is, that opinions can change just like that. But yeah, I'm thinking the momentum is in Crawford's favor, even though he's been inactive. I just feel like Canelo's recent performances have really not suggested that he's fit to deal with a guy as slick and as athletic as Terrence Crawford.
That's valid. Like, my thing with this fight, it's too many questions for me to favor Crawford. How's the speed, the athleticism, the precision, the overall, everything I think we can agree is going to be diminished going up 2, even 3 weight divisions. Everything's going to be pretty much cut in half. And his power, although it's going to be better than at 154, obviously it still wouldn't. The trade-off for the power, for the speed, just will not be in his favor, especially against Canelo. Like, I think if Crawford can be the same guy he's been, yeah, he can get it done for sure. Is he going to be the same guy? I'm not betting on it. I'm not. And that's what I tell a lot of guys. What are you betting on? You betting on him to be the same guy? Well, that's not it. Are you betting on Canelo? You can bet on Canelo to be a bit, like you said, he's kind of moving out of that prime. That's probably your best bet going into this fight. Now, in terms of confidence, I don't know, man. Bud said he has a 70% chance of winning. That rubbed me really the wrong way, dog.
He said that?
Yeah, he said he has a 70% chance to win.
If any guy says anything less than like 100, I'm not very confident in him.
Yeah. And then there's on the record, like, this is like 2024, early 24, late 23. He said, I don't think I could beat Canelo. I think I cap out at 154. 168 is too large. So I'm like,
I've seen that clip. I've seen that clip.
Bud has some win scenarios here. It's just not a complete wash. As much as I make it seem like that, I want to make a video talking about that. But my needle was still on Canelo's side by a good margin. It would still be a damn near a miracle for Bud to pull this one off. I got to be honest.
I do see what you're saying with that, and I will say Bud's performance against Madrimov. Originally, you were like, okay, I mean he's moving up in Madrimov. You know, he's a tricky guy, but I think Virgil's recent performance against Madrimov kind of throws some shade on Bud just because Virgil was getting. I think Virgil's getting outboxed in the early, 3 or 4 rounds, but then he really put it on Madrimov and just dominated. I don't think there was a point in the Crawford Madrimov fight where it looked like either guy had 100% control of the fight. And no offense, if Crawford can't have 100% control over a guy like Madrimov at any point in the fight, Canelo's a whole different ballgame. 2 weight classes above. And yeah, I don't know, Jerry. I'm wondering, who do you think had the least convincing recent performance? Do you think it's Canelo with Skull or Crawford with Madrimov?
Canelo definitely looked worse. I think Madrimov's a bit better than Mr. William Skull though. So but yeah, I think Canelo definitely, his performance does rub me a bit rougher than Crawford and Madrimov. But the 1 year, not even 1 year, we're talking about a 13-month layoff is also something we gotta consider.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's no secret. I don't think anybody believes Crawford is going to knock Canelo out. If Triple G couldn't, Terrence Crawford really has no chance. Do you think Crawford has any type of power to even get the respect from Canelo at all?
Now that's interesting. Now Crawford made a good point. Anybody can knock anybody out, and hypothetically, yes, that is true. Crawford's precision, his ability to get it in between and throw the shots where you can't see him, is his knockout ability. He's not knocking out Canelo. Like you said, Golovkin could barely make him bat an eyelash. I don't think Crawford can get it done. Does he have the power is the big question. Oh, man, if Canelo does not respect him an ounce of Terrence Crawford's being, man, when is the last time we just haven't seen Canelo respect a guy's power?
Mm-hmm. Probably Bivol or Golovkin.
I'm just talking about just did not care. Just maybe Plant, like the way he walked down Plant. That's interesting. If you cannot get Canelo to respect you, and you're not Floyd Mayweather, I do not like your odds. I don't.
I talked about this a little bit on my page today. When they did the sit-down interview with Shaq, Brady, Dana, all of them, Canelo told Crawford, "You've not fought anybody elite." And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that. I do think Errol Spence is in his prime. I'd give him elite. But Crawford then went on to mention, I haven't fought elite guys. What about Victor Postal and Ricky Burns?
Yeah.
Which I was like, have you not fought Sean Porter, Errol Spence, Amir Khan, and Kell Brook? Do you think anybody on Crawford's resume was elite? And do you think anybody that he's beaten gives you any, okay, that guy was maybe close to a Canelo in level? Do you think anybody on Crawford's resume has been of that sort?
Now, I got a comment today, yeah, and the guy said if you want to talk about guys that are elite or we could even consider in the category, it was Spence, Brook, Khan, the guys you named, Porter. I think, me personally, the only guy I would give him is Spence. If we're talking about elite, we're talking about the high B's to the A+ guys, right? We're talking like the lowest elite guy I could think of would be like Fulton. He's the worst elite guy I think you could find on, like Johnny Beck, maybe even. Mm-hmm. So I don't use the word elite lightly. That's just me. And I don't want to have a clash of terminology. I don't want this to turn into just a literature, class here. But I think Spence was the only elite guy. He has some great wins. Ricky Burns, Victor Postal aren't elite. That's no secret. He said Ricky Burns wasn't commercialized. I said, I don't give a damn if Ricky Burns was, on every billboard from LA to New York. He wasn't elite. That's just what it was. And what was your other question?
Do you think any guy that Crawford has fought maybe compares to Canelo, not in the sense that they would beat Canelo, but maybe similar styles, or, Crawford can take things from that fight to maybe using the Canelo fight?
Madrimov would be his best bet, but Madrimov is so unorthodox. Madrimov is able to lead or start combinations with the rear hand. He's able to switch stances. Madrimov isn't a great comparison, but it'll probably be his best one if I got to be honest with you. Probably Madrimov. But outside of that, nobody's been on the level. Nobody presents the size difference, discrepancy. Nobody presents the style issue of Canelo. So we're kind of going in here blind. There's no fight to really. I would tell somebody, yo, go back and watch this, and you'll get a pretty clear depiction on how this fight may. I can't tell you that with this one.
Hmm.
With Canelo, I could tell you go back and maybe watch Plant. Watch how Plant moved on the outside. Maybe we could see that from Crawford. We see how Canelo does with that. There's been a bunch of guys Canelo has faced that I believe take bits and pieces of Crawford's game and tried to implement them against Canelo. Maybe they were successful. Some were not. Many were not. You know.
Canelo is, it's no secret he's really dropped back on the output in the last couple of fights. Do you think his, get in, throw some feints, and then throw one big punch type of style, do you think that could come to his detriment a little if Crawford does what Bivol did, maybe counter the one shot? Do you think Canelo has to switch anything up to, compete with Crawford or get the win over him? Do you think where Canelo's at right now, it like say in his last fight, what do you think the Canelo that fought William Skull is good enough to beat Terrence Crawford?
Yeah, Canelo's a juggernaut. He's a wrecking ball. He could go forward and due to his just overwhelming sheer size and will, not size, but his willpower, and his determination to move forward and try to get some success. Yes, that could work. Would it be in his best interest? Maybe not. I think that type of boxing style is a bit too simplistic for a technical mastermind like Crawford, right? But one thing about Canelo, he's gonna do just enough to win. He's not gonna dominate a guy like Skull, Munguia, Berlanga. He's good. If you throw 12 punches, Canelo's gonna throw 14. He's never gonna throw 50 when you throw 12. He's gonna do just enough to win. If Crawford turns up the heat, I think Canelo will slowly, gradually turn up the heat as well. I think he always likes to be just a slight degree above his opponent. I think it's kind of lazy of him. I think he's kind of robbing the fans in that aspect, but I think that's just where he stands in his career right now, bro.
Talking paths to victory, I've seen a lot of people say for the fact that Canelo is, once he lands that one shot, Crawford's going to run around the ring like a guy like William Skull did. Do you believe? I don't necessarily believe Crawford's going to, bow down and walk away, given it's such a big fight. It's what he's been calling for a while now. Do you feel Canelo, like, could he walk him down and Crawford would just run around the whole fight? Or do you think if Canelo lands on him, Crawford can, stand his ground and trade? I don't know if that'd be in the best interest for Crawford. I guess I necessarily don't even know, now that I'm really thinking about it, I don't know what path to victory I see for Crawford. What are your thoughts on that?
He's got to stay away. He's got to stay away. I've been using this term. I don't know where I got it from, but Canelo gonna hit him with something that's gonna jolt his body. I hope I'm using that word right. But you ever like touch a doorknob and that shock goes through your body? It's gonna jolt his body. It's gonna feel like an electric shock down from his spleen to his toes. It's gonna make him get on the bike. Crawford can box while being on the bicycle. That makes him such a great fighter. But I always use the Berlanga knockdown for just reference. What happens, and I'm asking you this and the viewers, what happens if that Berlanga left hook lands flush on the jaw? That floored Berlanga. That wasn't wobble. He floored Berlanga.
If that lands, fight's over. I don't care. First round, 12th round. If that does land on Terrence Crawford, a guy who's been hurt by Gamboa, Kavalauskas, if Canelo lands that on you, if Canelo lands that on any guy moving up from 147 or 154, you're going to sleep.
Not a great sight. Not something I'm interested in seeing. I'm not gonna lie to you, my dog. But nonetheless, I do want to touch more on Crawford's path to victory. I have been kind of neglecting the guy. Like you, when you really sit there and think about it, it's hard to really sit here and say how Crawford could win. Like, he's got to stay away. He's got to be damn near flawless. He's got to make Canelo respect him. It's such a huge reach that it damn near does seem impossible. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, because you're right. He does have to stay away, but at the same time, Canelo's going to be the one moving forward. And from a judge's standpoint, if no action's happening, you're going to give it to the guy who's moving forward.
Yeah.
It's really an impossible scenario for Crawford because he has to move away from the power that coming from a 168-pounder Canelo is going to put a dent in Crawford whenever he gets touched. He's got to stay away, but at the same time, he's got to get in there and be active. And yeah, I guess now that we're more discussing, I'm kind of leaning back towards Canelo. I mean, I think just because I see more of a path to victory for Canelo, just throwing at every target he gets, how he throws at the arms, throwing at the body. I just don't feel like Crawford can withstand all that punishment from a guy who is so much bigger than him for 12 rounds.
And I want to ask you a question. I heard this on some podcast today. Why doesn't Crawford, if he does beat Canelo, right? For the people picking Crawford, I want you guys to answer this as well. Why doesn't Crawford go on and fight Bivol, Benavidez, or Beterbiev?
Because he knows I don't want to say he knows he would lose, but like,
it's not fair. It doesn't seem fair.
Exactly. It doesn't seem fair, but Canelo's such a big money fight, and he is a naturally smaller guy, but that is true. Yeah.
But then when you think about it, when we bring up Canelo Benavidez, we say, oh, that's a good one. That's maybe Benavidez, maybe it's a 50-50. But when we say Crawford Benavidez, we say, that's not fair. So it makes you think, how much stronger is Canelo? Or how much better is he at these higher weight divisions for when we bring up Canelo in these conversations? It's 50-50 bouts, or it's intriguing bouts, versus when we bring up Crawford in these conversations, we basically say it's unfair. It's damn near a kid versus a grown man.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, I think Crawford did get asked in an interview, like, would you ever entertain a fight with Benavidez? And I think he kind of just danced around the question. I think he's taking the Canelo fight, one, because he's going to make about probably as many, he's going to make about 50 to 100 million from it.
Yeah.
So I think that's why he's taking the fight. He keeps saying it's about legacy. If I win, I'm going to be on the Mount Rushmore. I'm going to be one of the best of all time, which is true. If he wins, all the credit in the world for moving up and beating Canelo. But I do think he's in it for the legacy a little. But I do think the overlying factor is the money and is the payday. I remember Canelo said in the round table, this might be your last one. He told Crawford this might be your last fight, and Crawford goes, maybe. And it seems like Crawford's, I don't want to say 1 foot out the door, but it seems like he's kind of already made up his mind that after this one he might retire. And a fighter who's already thinking about retirement I'm never going to back a guy who's already, talking about retirement.
And that's interesting too. Like doubling back on his word. Crawford in another interview said, I want to say maybe 2-3 weeks ago, he said he's gonna go back down to 54 after he beats Canelo. Excuse me. He said he's gonna go back down to 54, which I'm like, terrible idea. Virgil Ortiz is gonna stop you. Like, you can't walk around for 190 at 194 a year, drop back down to 54 and try to hang out with these younger guys, right? Terrible idea. But he says he's going to drop back to 54. Then in the GOAT podcast, he said he doesn't know if he's going to retire. But then Turki Al-Sheikh just came out after talking about the Monster and Tank. He said Terrence Crawford told him this would be his last fight. So we kind of confirmed his retirement fight.
Turki really said that about Crawford?
Yeah. And I don't. It's weird because I'm in this position. If you believe you can beat Canelo, why retire? You're going to get a rematch in May on Cinco de Mayo. You're going to get a rematch, and you're going to be the A side. Not the A side, but you're going to get a way bigger check. If your check's $50 million this time, it'll be 80 to 100 for sure next time. So I'm like, why retire?
That is a really good point. You usually hear guys say, we'll probably do the rematch after. Because Crawford is the underdog. If he goes in and beats Canelo, without a doubt, the usual plan would be a rematch. But yeah, everything that Crawford's been saying, and especially his mentality. I feel like leading up into other fights, especially the Spence fight, he was more mad. He was more, I'm not going to say it was personal, but he was more had a more disdain for the guy. In the round table thing, he was saying, I'm a fan of Canelo. I admire him. I've looked up to him for a while. I know some people say that about their opponents, and that's fine, but I just feel like this isn't the usual Terrence Crawford that we're seeing. This isn't the usual massively competitive guy who is coming in there to take your head off and wants to win more than anything. I feel like this is a different Terrence Crawford from what we've seen in the Spence fight, in the Kell Brook and the Amir Khan, the Sean Porter. I feel like this is a different Crawford, potentially for the money.
Man, there's a lot of signs I touched on. I've been breaking this fight down on YouTube. I didn't like the way he looked in the Saudi face-off. His face looked like, I don't want to cuss here, but his face looked like, holy, like he looked at Canelo and was like, holy, this
This
is
is happening.
real.
Yeah.
This is like, the moment looks a bit too big for Crawford. Now I hate to say that because Crawford's always been a guy to seize the opportunity and rise to the occasion, but this moment seems a bit too large. Like the fans are here, Shaq, Brady, Vegas, Netflix, everybody, and Crawford looks a bit frozen. It doesn't seem like he's quite sunk into the moment yet. I really hate to say that because he's one of the best in the game at stepping up to the plate and hitting that grand slam. But this time, I don't know. He's gonna get struck out.
I agree. And for the people who come and say, "Oh, but the Spence fight, he's been on the big stage before." This stage that he's on right now is at another magnitude
No,
than
like,
the stage of the Spence fight. I mean,
dog.
the media tour they've been on, the Shaq and Brady thing. This, I will confidently say that, at least from an investment standpoint and a fight standpoint as well, this is by far the biggest fight that, Turkey and Riyadh Season and Ring Magazine has put on so far since their entrance in the boxing world by far. I think they're going to go all out. And yeah, like you just said, I think Canelo is a lot more familiar to the moment than Crawford. And I think we have seen that in the media so far in the face-offs. Canelo seems like he's at home, and Crawford seems like he just arrived and he's kind of a little shaken.
Yeah, bro. Like, talk to some of my boys. It sounds crazy. This fight may be bigger than Floyd Pacquiao. I've seen so many guys out. Like when a fight starts to transcend boxing, like you're gonna have the hardcore guys, me, you touch on it, and you're gonna have your guys who tune in every big pay per view. Then you're gonna have your casuals. Once it breaks through the casuals, and you have the NBA guys, the NFL stars, the actors start touching on it, then it's like, damn, this is a big fight. Like this is gonna be probably more watched than the NBA Finals. It's a long time since a boxing event's done such, especially in America. So I don't know, man. Like you said, Canelo seems a bit more comfortable. Like Canelo, I think he understands Crawford's a good opponent, but he's fought Floyd Mayweather. He's fought
Mm-hmm.
not Beevil, but he's fought Golovkin. That's probably his biggest fights. Even Charlo, that sold pretty well. It's undisputed on undisputed, but Crawford. Crawford's biggest fight, he doesn't even respect Errol. He doesn't even view Errol as too much of a big fight. He probably looks at Errol as Ndongo, just another undisputed title fight.
Exactly. And you said that Canelo has been in, I don't, this fight's obviously huge. Any Floyd fight is huge as well. Like Floyd's fights can compare to this just in magnitude. And Canelo's been on that stage for over 10 years. So there's no secret he is accustomed to the moment. And I'm not going to say this is going to play into like an in the ring thing, but from what I've seen, it seems that Canelo might already be in Crawford's head. That might be a little bold, but just the way that I've seen them acting. I don't think I've ever seen Terrence Crawford act this friendly. The eating dinner together. What? No offense, I'm not trying to like go at Turkey and the promotion here, but I hated when I saw that picture. Like, you can be friends after the fight. You are fighting in the biggest fight of the decade, and you're sitting there eating dinner together. Like, what are we doing? Like, at least
Yeah,
act like your rivals a little. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like, even if they are friendly, don't put it out there for the. You know what I mean? Like, that just
yeah.
really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, that's not how you promote a fight.
It's Saudi tradition more than likely, but I get you. I feel like Usyk and Fury probably did. Beevil Better Be probably did. They didn't put it out there.
Yeah,
I feel like that's better off behind closed doors. It's a Saudi tradition from what I've read up on. And then what's interesting is that the king or the most important person in the room they choose their favorite person to sit to the right of them, which was Terrence Crawford. And Turki Al Sheikh has made it clear that he's on Team Crawford. I don't know why, but he's with Team Bud. I wonder if that will sway the judges, or I don't know. That's really interesting, though.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of interesting to me that Turkey would be on Crawford's side because it seems like it might be Crawford's last fight. And it seems that Turkey has plans for Canelo. He's talked about Chris Eubank. He's talked about Hamza Shiraz. But, I mean, I will say, if Turkey's on your side, the judges might be on your side too. I'm not trying to point at corruption or anything like that, but it's a known thing. If the promoter's on your side, the judges are on your side too.
Yeah, for sure. You know, he was on Fury's side, and Fury got two decisions. One that could have went his way. Both went to the other party. So I like Saudi's judging. They've been pretty spectacular. I think Bivol Beterbiev was some of the greatest judging of all time, both fights. So I'm not mad at Turkey. He's been very vocal. Even, I don't know if you caught his tweet today or yesterday. He said, I want Zepeda.
Yeah.
Not Zepeda. Was it Shakur? And
I want Shakur
Shiraz.
and Shiraz to win. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't like it, man. I don't like the openly public bias, but it's never really swayed the judges too much. But it is interesting to think about.
And the last thing I wanted to touch on this Canelo Crawford fight, you mentioned it's going to be a huge fight, one of the biggest, one of the biggest ever. It's on Netflix. It's not on pay-per-view where you have to buy. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson was on Netflix, and that did over 100 million views. Canelo Crawford's on Netflix. I can only imagine how much. Like, I'm not going to say it'll get that many, but like it'll sniff that area. This is going to be amazingly watched, and I think you might have talked about this in one of your videos recently. The pay-per-view model is done with all these illegal streaming services. No kid coming up who knows about all these illegal streaming services, all that, are going to pay top dollar when they don't have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, with all the street, like, you know all the illegal streaming services. So I think taking boxing to Netflix, to places like Amazon Prime, which PBC has done, but not scratch the pay-per-view model. That's done. That's in the past. It's in the 2010s. It's in the 2000s. Netflix, Amazon Prime, all these streaming services are the future for the sport. Like, I genuinely believe that. I think that's where you're going to get the most eyeballs by far.
Pay-per-view model is dated. Like, if you guys watch that video, I expressed my frustration with the business model. It's dated. It's nobody has direct TV anymore. Everybody's on cell phones and the laptops and all the good stuff. So it's like it was a change that we should have anticipated when streaming started to boom. There's been a couple eras and periods where streaming was on the rise and boxing didn't move accordingly, and that's why we're in the position we are today. We're taking a lot of revenue, or not revenue. We're taking a lot of net profit losses. A lot of fighters are being dropped. We're having to make these tight budget cuts, and because we didn't make this move, that we were made aware of this whole streaming stuff back in the mid 2010s, and now we're trying to catch up. But like I said, if you guys want to hear more about that, go watch my video. That's a topic that just frustrates me, pisses me off, man. But I do want to talk about Mr. Tay Wilder. Mr. Tay Wilder in his fight on Friday, right?
Yeah. June 27th, Friday, yeah.
And that will be in Wichita, Kansas still.
Which is an odd location, I think, but
on BLK Prime, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to BLK Prime. Great work. But Tay Wilder, man, he's been, I love Tay. And he had some stuff going on with him. I don't know if he was ever, I love Tay, man. I love Tay. He's a great guy. He's always focused on mental health, and he's always seemed like a great guy, at least when he was on camera. I have been one of the few guys who don't think Tay needs to hang him up quite yet. He got stopped by Zhang, brutal stoppage. He lost to Parker, and then he had the 3 fights with Fury. I don't think it's just a huge red flag. If he hung him up, would I be, upset? No. Tay's made his mark on the heavyweight division, right? But I wasn't one of the guys just saying, man, throw the white flag. It's over, man. I don't want to see you get hurt. I don't want to see you with all these, CTE brain injuries later on in your career. Because Tay didn't take a lot of damage throughout most of his career. He had a lot of early knockouts. But if he loses this one, Ian, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
With all due respect to the opponent, Tyrell Herndon, I interviewed him a couple months ago when this fight just got announced. He's a great guy. He seems like he's coming to fight. Great mentality. He was knocked out by Richard Torres inside 2 rounds, I believe.
Really?
A couple of years ago. So, Richard Torres is a good fighter, but we're talking about Deontay Wilder here. If Wilder wants to, really put himself back into the big fights, which I want him to. Wilder is great for the sport. The way he promotes himself, the way he promotes the fights he's involved in, the energy he brings. I want him still in the sport. I think boxing needs a guy like Deontay Wilder. The Anthony Joshua fight is still out there. But I think for those fights to happen and still be as big as possible, he needs a vintage Deontay Wilder performance. He needs to go out there. I don't care. Look wild. Look reckless. Land a right hand. Send Herndon into the stratosphere. With all due respect to him, but if we're talking what Wilder needs to do here, he's got to finish this inside 1 or 2 rounds. He's got to light the arena on fire. He's got to call somebody out, preferably Anthony Joshua. I think anything other than that, any signs of struggle, really just put disdain over a big fight because you're just thinking Wilder's pretty much done.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a big knockout when I think that's what we are going to get. But yeah, I didn't know his name Herndon. I didn't know he was stopped by Richard Torres. Richard Torres is he's a great prospect. But that's what he is a prospect, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. He's still a prospect. You say he got knocked out 2 years ago?
I believe it was about 2 years ago, yeah. In 2 rounds, so.
Yeah, so Wilder, we're looking for it has to be under 6. I really want it to be in 4, but under 6 will be fine. And from there, where do we move with Tay? Hopefully we get him in the main event in Wembley. I think AJ is a great fight to maybe both of these guys to ride off in the sunset, right? Both of these guys were some of the greatest heavyweights of the 2010s. I think this long awaited clash, we're supposed to get this back in 18, 19. So
they're both still champ.
Yeah, I think it was undisputed at the time. So I would like to see it in Wembley, both of these guys, and right off into the sunset. And I would definitely favor AJ to stop Wilder in probably 5.
I tend to agree with that. And I agree. I think that's the fight. If Wilder looks like Wilder in this upcoming fight, I don't want to look ahead. But if he does, that's the fight that without a doubt makes the most sense. I feel like Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua have purposely been waiting for this fight. But touching back into Wilder specifically, he's an anomaly because it's no secret he got into it late. He doesn't have that fundamental base. He's known for being reckless, getting beat in fights, but this right here, that right hand will put any guy out. Yeah. It's just the timidness. That's been the story recently. The unwillingness to throw the right hand, which is what he has. He is a right. With all due respect, Wilder is a right hand. In a boxing ring, he is a right hand. That's about the only thing that's going to get him the win. But the timidness to throw it, especially in the Joseph Parker fight, was very alarming. And I feel here, if Herndon can survive those early rounds, survive those early exchanges, if he can, figure out Wilder, Herndon might have a more fundamental boxing base than Deontay Wilder. I know he's a lot lower level, but if he can survive the early rounds and really get Wilder into the deep end here, I think there's a path to victory. I'm going to say a crazy take here. I think there might be more of a path to victory for Tyrell Herndon in this fight than there is for Terrence Crawford in the Canelo fight.
Oh no!
Which might sound crazy, but Deontay Wilder might not be who he used to be, and it pains me to say because I remember I watched all those Fury fights, and I watched the Helenius fight, and I was like, oh my god, he's back! Like this is Wilder, and then I was wildly disappointed by the Parker fight. And I like John. I've interviewed him, so I was kind of happy. Not happy, but I didn't hate when John won that. But it's so sad seeing Wilder like that. And I just want him. I want one more. I want one more Wilder performance. I want one more right hand, send him into orbit, and scream bomb squad into the mic. I want one more of those desperately. I need one more of those.
Yeah. This guy, he's ranked like outside the top 100 on BoxRec, man. So it's like, please, he cannot afford to lose this one. But like, Tay Wilder I was seeing him work out. He seems really loose and seems to be having fun in there. I like to get him back into the mix. It's not much to talk about with Tay right now. That's all I really have. I'm ready to talk about Mr. Jaron Ennis. That's a very interesting subject with that kid.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on to Boots as well. The move to 154. I wouldn't have hated to see him stay around at 147 given Brian Norman's knockout of the year he had like a week ago. But I get the move. He unified the titles with Stanionis, and it's probably getting very hard to cut the weight. And I do think there are a lot more opportunities at 54, specifically the Virgil Ortiz fight. I mean, that was the fight at welterweight. Both those guys were still welterweights back in like 2021. People were talking about that fight. So I've heard Oscar say Virgil, he's recovering. He may not be ready for the Boots fight right this second, but
Yeah,
I
he
know,
said September, October, I think.
yeah, even though neither of those guys are champions, I still think that is probably the biggest fight that can be made at 154 pounds
Oh,
right now.
for sure. Um, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but they said Boots wanted 2 tune-up fights at 54 before jumping into the better opposition, and I'm like, dog, love Boots, really talented kid, but come on, Boots is 27, 28 now. We gotta get a move on. You're about 40 fights into his career, maybe 35, 36 after
And
these two
I
fights.
think he's like 34-0 right now.
You gotta get a move on. Like, you cannot be getting outdone by these older guys or these guys who are severely younger than you. You're in your prime years. You're moving into a new weight. You said, you and your doctor sat down. You said you were moving at 30 to 40% at 147, and at 54 you'll be a lot better. You're getting outdone by these older guys. Crawford was able to go from 47, 54, take on a champion immediately. You're getting outdone by some of these younger guys. Keyshawn Davis was able to get some more recognizable decorated names under his belt after 10, 11 fights. So I'm like, come on, dog. Two. I could get one to break into the weight, but two, I want him to stay away from Marat Zaliev. Doesn't make much sense for me. Really dangerous fight. I want to see Marat Zaliev defend the title again, and so I could get a better grasp of who he is. I don't like to go off one fight. I like to give a guy 2-3 chances to show me who they is. So I would stay away from Marat Zaliev. Let Fondor Zoo play out. I think Zoo takes that one. I think he should go tune up into Zoo or tune up into Virgil. I don't want to see 2 tune-ups. I don't want to see Erickson Lubin or Cornwell, whatever the guy's name is. I'm very disappointed in Boots. He didn't want to do it with Teofimo Lopez. It seems like he's a bit hesitant to step in the ring with Virgil, and it makes me question the guy's ability. I got to be honest.
Yeah, it really is disappointing that we're this far into Jaron Ennis' career and we have not yet seen a mega fight with the talent and profile he has. He's one of the biggest fighters in America, and he hasn't fought in any huge fights. That just shows you his star power already. Yet the Teofimo fight would have been the build up to that. I can't even imagine. It would have been amazing. Passes up on that. Doesn't look like he's interested in the Virgil fight. It is so frustrating that a guy this in his prime, who's 34-0, is still needing tune-ups in any weight class. Like, you should move up and immediately want to take on the top guys. But hypothetically, given he does take a tune-up, I don't remember where I heard this, but I was watching a video. They're both with Matchroom. How do you feel a fight between Boots Ennis and Madrimov goes down?
Difficult for Jaron. Madrimov, man. Madrimov is awkward, man, and we know that. But Madrimov is not gonna let you look good. I gotta be honest. You're just not gonna go in there and have your way with him. You're not gonna go in there and 10-2 him, 9-3 him. You're gonna, if you're able to pull it out, you're gonna get a 7-5, 8-4 at best, if not a draw, a split decision. So I favor Jaron. He's younger, he's fresher, he has more talent, he's larger, but it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna look pretty.
I agree. That probably isn't the smartest idea for a tune-up to really get him in exciting fights. Let's touch back on the fight that should be made, the Virgil Ortiz fight. Back when they were both at welterweight, I think I would have favored Jaron Ennis pretty heavily. Now that they're at 54 and Virgil's recent performance, I might edge Virgil Ortiz. The way he looked against Madrimov was spectacular. I thought he looked smart, he looked spiteful, he looked powerful. Boots has been caught. I think Virgil could pull that one out if that gets made. Who do you think wins, Jerry?
Man, this is the thing with Jaron, and it's quite unfortunate. I can't really gauge where he's at because he's bored at 147. He's been bored, right? I haven't seen him kick it in the second gear. I haven't seen him put much thought inside the ring. I see a guy who's overly talented. I see a guy who is in love with himself and he's bored, right? And based off his boredom, he's been defensively irresponsible. He's been quite liable in the defensive end, and Virgil probably knocks his head off and this boredom turns into bad habits. So the constant fighting with your hands down, he gets hit flush on the jaw every fight. And I think and I know this, you know this, we all know that he's talented enough not to get hit flush at all. But like I said, this boredom turns into bad habits, and if he's in bad habits, stick around. And if he's not able to clean them up, Virgil Ortiz stops him probably. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's one thing getting caught with those shots at 47, but moving up to 54, fighting guys like Boots, Murtazaliev, I don't think he's going to be eating those shots like he was at 47. Do you think that Boots can make an undisputed run at 54, or do you think he has that in him? Do you think he has it in him to take out the likes of Virgil Ortiz, the likes of Murtazaliev, the winner of Fundora versus Zoo? Do you think he has all that in his bag to really run through that division? Do you think he might be, since he's hasn't been in a huge fight yet, do you think he might be a little, lacking of experience for those big fights?
Could he do it? Yes. Jaron Ennis could do anything he puts his mind to. I'm really high on this kid. He's a great kid. Is he willing to? Is he realistically capable? These are totally different things versus could he do it versus being realistically capable and being willing to. Moratazaliev that's a brick wall, man. That's a brick wall, and I'm not just insanely high on him because I want to see more of him, but from what I've seen in his last outing, you got to get through that brick wall, and it's just not going to be easy. So right now, an undisputed run at 54 seems a bit unlikely. Virgil Ortiz can punch himself out of a black hole. The guy's punching power from 1 to 12 is insane. He's a top 5 puncher in the sport. Every punch is harder than the last. It just does not go down. That guy is amazing. And like I said, I talked about Marat Sali. If Tim Zoo's, I'm not high on Zoo or Fundora right now, but even Fundora's length and size would give him some issues, pause. But I don't know, man. The 154 undisputed run it's unlikely.
I tend to agree, and I really think the lack of experience in a big fight and maybe the contentness with his popularity and his star power. Since he signed with Matchroom, he's been getting those sold out shows in Atlantic City and at the Sixers Stadium in Philadelphia. Yeah. And he hasn't had to have great opponents to do that. So I think there might be something in the back of his mind right now saying, why risk it with these big names when I can sell out venues and I can sell out venues and I can not get an easy win, but get an easier win than some of these top guys and not take as big of a risk when I can sell out like that. And I heard Jaron Ennis say he wanted to be, by the end of it, he wanted to be undisputed in 4 weight classes. Now, I think that's unlikely, obviously, given now that he's already moved up from welterweight. Like,
Yeah,
without a doubt, it's probably not going to happen. But the thing I can't get my mind off of is you got to get going. You're 20, like, however old he is. He's in his prime. He's had 34 fights. He hasn't taken a lot of damage, but still, it is still miles on the clock. You got to get going. Moving up to 54 after being a unified champion at 47 and needing 2 tune-up fights. In my opinion, it's pathetic. You're one of the biggest stars in American boxing. Go up there and make the biggest fights happen. Don't sit around and, take a Charles Conwell and an Erickson Lubin just to get yourself accumulated to the weight class. No, you're a big guy. You were a big 47. You'll be an average size or maybe even a big 54. You got to get going if you really want to accomplish all these goals that you have laid out for yourself. You have to get going now. I think Eddie Hearn's done a good job with him so far, but I'm not feeling this 2 tune-up fights. I think he gets to 54. He's got to get straight into the big fights, or maybe he might start to lose some of his star power.
how do you feel about the clean jump up to 60 from 47? Because he's a pretty large 47. He'd be slightly undersized at 60, but his boxing ability and talent would kind of compensate him where he's lacking. So how do you feel about the clean jump from 47 to 60? Maybe
I think he could do it without a doubt, and I think 60 is at one of the weakest points it's been in a long time. I think I'm not saying he could clean out 60 easily. I think Adames and Janibek are 2 very good fighters.
Adames is moving up.
Oh, he is?
From what I've heard, he's going to 68.
So if that title becomes vacant, I could see him clearing out 60. I think the only real wall he'd have to run into is Janibek, but I'm not saying he couldn't get it done. But I would just be very disappointed skipping 54 with all those big fights. Maybe legacy-wise, if you're just looking to pick up titles for Ennis, 60 probably makes a lot more sense. But if you're really trying to make the big fights and sell yourself as one of the best of all time, I would favor the move to 54. It just depends on what Boots is interested in. If he's interested in the big fights, 54 is where you're supposed to be. If you're interested in the titles and, just keep staying in Philly and selling out shows there, then move up to 60. But in my opinion, I want to move to 54 and then more than move to 60. But I do think he could make a move to 60, like straight from 47. But I'd like to see him do the work that needs to be done at 54, then move up to 60.
60, you don't know, man. I'm high on Ali Pani. He's a brick wall within himself. I think he stops Bud. I think he beats Crawford, or stops Crawford, beats Canelo. I'm high on Johnny Beck. He's a monster. So I did kind of forget about that, taking that in consideration. 60, he could get a title off Lara. He could get the vacant Adames title, the WBC title, but WBO, IBF held by Ali Hani. It's not much he could do with him. But 54 would be the best move for him. But I'm ready to see the show get on the road, man. I wanted to see Haney, maybe Teal, maybe Ryan. I wanted to see one big fight. One time Jaron Ennis looked across from the ring or wherever, and there was another fighter that's going to be worth mentioning in its own right. Like Stanionis, great fighter. Not great. Really good fighter. Solid fighter. Stanionis is not worth mentioning in his own right. I'm not talking about Stanionis' next fight. I got to be honest. But when you get your Haneys, your Ryans, your Teals, your Virgils, I could talk about these guys and whatever is going on in their respective career without Jaron Ennis, So, really disappointed. I've been disappointed in Boots for a while. More disappointed in Brian Norman. That's a whole nother whatever. And he just got the Haney fight offered to him. I want to see what he says about that. But both of these guys, nonetheless, have just underwhelming, man. Overall, underwhelming. I got to be honest.
No, more that I think about the Boots move, the more it pisses me off because you just got Teofimo Lopez, who I don't know if he's moving to 47, but he wanted that fight. He wanted to move to 47 and fight Boots. And you have Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, who are literally, you can't argue, 2 of the biggest stars in the sport. They are. You get them 3 guys who are 3 of the biggest stars moving up, and that's when you decide to leave for 2 tune-ups at 54. It just, I'm not saying he's running from the big fights. I'm not saying he's ducking these guys, but
bad move.
Bad money move. Boots has not been in a fight where you say, oh, Boots is fighting this guy. Boots has only been in fights where it's like, oh, Jaron Ennis is fighting this weekend. You don't say, Jaron Ennis is fighting Amanis Stanionis this weekend. You don't say, Jaron Ennis is fighting David Avanesian this weekend. You say, oh, Jaron Ennis is back on that weekend. I went to see Jaron Ennis in a fight where you mention the other guy's name in the promotion. It's not just Jaron Ennis is back. It's Jaron Ennis is back. He's fighting fucking Devin Haney. He's fighting Ryan Garcia. He's fighting Teofimo Lopez. He's fighting Virgil Ortiz. I can't even name how many big fights are out here for him. And I'm not saying he's ducking, but he is slithering his way around all these big fights just to kick it in Philadelphia and Atlantic City, sell out a show, and have a low-risk opponent get an easy win. I'm tired of seeing that. I want to see him against guys who are going to have some pushback.
And before we wrap up the show, man, I was made aware, this is kind of crazy. I don't have the tweet. I want to say it was a tweet. Jaron Ennis back in 2020, maybe 21, I want to say, was considering to move down to 40 when Bud and Spence were getting caught up in their little undisputed unification drama. He was considering to move down to 40. And I was like, why? Like, I didn't think he could make 40, but I'm like, if you can't find the fights, you typically move up. You don't move down, right? I was like, that kind of tells me a lot about him, right? It's like, that seems a little bit weak, minded. Why are you moving down? I didn't like Bam's move down to 112. I feel like he's getting away from Nakatani. Now he's at 15 and moving back up to 18 after Nakatani moves out. But I never liked the concept of moving down. Jaron Ennis was considering it, and it kind of tells me a lot about his character.
If I'm in Jaron Ennis' situation when the Errol, Spence, and Bud Crawford stuff is going on, I'm doing everything in my power to shove myself into the mix. I'm not talking about moving down a weight class, to where during the time that Crawford and Spence were, in those talks, 40 was not the weight class it is today. It did not have all the guys it does today. All those guys were down at 135 at this time. So Boots was talking about moving down to a relatively, name-wise, a relatively empty 140-pound division when two of the biggest pound-for-pound stars in the sport are going at each other. I'm trying to force myself into that mix. I'm not trying to not run away, but I'm not trying to avoid that. Like, Boots has all the talent in the world, and I so badly want to see it against top-level opposition. Eddie Hearn says it all the time. You've not even seen, you've only seen 50% of this guy. You've only seen 70% of what this guy can do. Then show us the 100. Put him in fights that are going to show us the 100%. Yeah, we're only going to see 70% of him if you keep putting him in against guys that are only going to bring 70% out of him.
He's bored.
Put him in big fights.
He's bored. Watch that Avanesian fight back. I'm like, he's getting tagged. Avanesian, Chukajan, even Stanionis, I'm like, he's getting tagged, but he's so bored. And it genuinely made me bored. I'm like,
if he wasn't bored, he wouldn't be getting tagged like that.
That's what I would assume. That's why I still want to see him against somebody who would make him be a bit more aware on defense. But it is a fair assumption to say he wouldn't get it tagged as much. But the guy's bored, man. You're going to bore him to death. You're going to bore him to death, Eddie. Or Jaron, Team Ennis, whoever's over there, Bozy. It's kind of interesting, though, because so many smaller guys have been able to get, just as big fights. Even like a guy, Oscar Collazo, has been able to unify. Zerto's been able to unify and Zerto's been able to get the Beevil fight and a unification at 200. So it's like, dog, what is going on? It is frustrating.
With Turkey and Ring Magazine and Riyadh season, there is absolutely zero excuse for you to not be in a big fight. If I'm not mistaken, I am pretty sure months ago, Boots was offered a Virgil fight before the, I think it was either before Stanionis or before the second Chukajan fight. And I think he turned it down because he said, I want to unify 147. Then don't pick up one other title. Go undisputed so you can have that on your resume. Don't unify two of the belts and then Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and Teofimo move up. And then I'm done. I'm going to go move to 54. And think about it, taking 2 tune-ups, a lot of the guys at 54 might move up by the time that you're done with 2 tune-ups. It's just, I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's ducking the big fights, but he doesn't seem eager to get in the big fights either.
Yeah, man. It's but I did enjoy the podcast today, my guys. We had a great conversation about an hour. So you guys, I hope you guys do enjoy it. We're gonna try to get this thing out to you maybe 2-3 times a week. Me and Ian are gonna talk about that. He's a really busy guy right now. I have my own things going on in my life as well. Um, Make sure you guys go over to Top Boxing News over on Instagram, TikTok, all platforms. Give that some support, some traffic, some interactions. But yeah, we talked about some great topics. My guy Ian, and we'll be back. Ian, we really gotta touch bases on when we'll connect back. What events? We got the Jake. We'll probably get back after the Jake Paul fight.
We'll give a recap of this weekend's events.
Yeah, probably. I don't like working Sundays, man. I don't. Maybe Monday. I don't know.
We'll figure out time. But yeah, guys, this is just the beginning. Just the beginning.
I need more money, guys. So we're trying everything. So you guys got to support. Let's go. But this is the Late Stoppage podcast. And my guy Ian. Obviously, I'm Jerry. This should be going up on my page. I have clips running everywhere. You won't get rid of me. You'll see me everywhere. But I appreciate all the support, you guys. I hope to see you guys in future podcasts, and I'll continue to support me as much as you can.